All right, so we have our backend up. We need to include Mongo in our list of dependencies because we're going to start establishing a connection to our database. I currently have an older version of Node, so unfortunately I can't just yarn add MongoDB. I'm going to have to tell it to use a slightly older version. So I'm going to manually tell it to downgrade its version. It comes in no problem. All right. I guess we should talk a little bit about .env and what that is. That lets you make use of a env file, which are for environment variables. I'm going to create one in my server folder, new file, .env. This is essentially an object, but you have to, it looks slightly different. Instead of using the colons and curlies on the outside, you literally just write the key equals the value. So let's put in test here. This, is the value. I'm not sure if spaces will work actually, but let's try that. This is the value. We have test equals this is the value. We go back over to, not our get ignore, our index. And we're going to make use of our .env. Now, its require line is a little bit strange because usually when you do require is you extract or you grab a new variable from it. This is just setting up the process which already exists, so you don't have to assign it to a variable. So we're just going to require .env, and we're going to execute its config method. Config. All right. So if I console log process.env, well, obviously I have to be running this file. Let's yarn start. Yarn start. All right, so here's our env file. It's got tons of key value pairings, right, that already exist, that were created through the Node application, or in this case, NodeMon, which is obviously very closely related. NodeMon, by the way, is just you can run your server through Node or NodeMon. NodeMon just is better for developers because whenever your files change in your server, it will automatically restart your server to reflect those changes. Otherwise, if you're using Node, you're going to have to manually restart it all the time, and you're going to get false positives. False positives? False negatives. You're going to think your code isn't working when it is. Or maybe it's working. I don't know. You're not going to be able to test it effectively. So notice that here I have a key of test, right? So I could say, instead of console logging, where's my process env? Here. Instead of console logging this dot test, right? And now I can see just this is the value. I could destructure variables from my process env, like so. I could say constant test is equal to process.env, right? And now I have a variable called test. Let's log out test. And this works even if you put a key here that doesn't exist in your .env. This won't throw an error, right? Like if I created a second one called test2, double T'd it, whatever. Let's put this here. What does this extract? Well, if ever you extract a key from an object that doesn't exist, it holds undefined. And this is a common mistake. I do recommend whenever you're going to be making use of process.env, you console log it first to make sure you actually have a variable, because it's pretty easy to make a typo or something like that, and then you're working lower down your code and nothing's working, and you didn't realize, well, I have undefined, so obviously it's not going to work. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this. I am going to pause the recording and get my secret for Mongo. I'm not going to share it with you. It will essentially in here look like Mongo underscore URI is equal to, and it's going to be some password and information pointing to my Mongo account. I'm assuming you've already made one, and you've whitelisted your IP, and that you have your secret that you've copied from Mongo in accessibility or networking or wherever it is. So yeah, I'm gonna pause the recording here and get mine in here, close this so you don't see it. All right, I'll be right back. All right, it's in there. Okay, so now I have my Mongo URI, which is my secret. Let's grab Mongo client from, not from, that's front end syntax, require MongoDB. Mongo. Now I'm going extra slow. All right, let's create an endpoint to create a new, insert something into Mongo to make sure this works. So let's start with users or something. So let's say slash. In fact, I'm going to name all my routes API. I mean, this test kind of exists, but that's fine. It'll just help distinguish between your front end and your back end routes and endpoints in the future. So let's do a person, and let's not do a get. Let's do a post, and let's accept. Actually, I guess it's gonna be easiest to start this up with a get first, because that way I can do it through the browser. All right, let's just manually add a person. You know, add person. All right, let's throw in our request response here. And what are we gonna do? All right, we have Mongo client, so let's create a Mongo client. Constant client is equal to new Mongo client, and we're going to do the Mongo URI in here. I think we used to have to do options in here. I think they are unified topology and all that stuff is now by default accepted. I'm going to want to await promises in here, and I don't want to have to .then change, so I'm just going to make use of an asynchronous function here. Instead of having to chain .thens, .catches, and well, a single .catch and a single .finally. All right, so whenever you're going to be awaiting anything or managing promises, you should be doing so with either a catch block, which means you have to use a try, or you have a .catch at the end. Since I'm in an asynchronous function, we're going to be trying, we're going to be catching, catch the error. And let's have a finally as well. The finally will get executed even if we run a return inside of this function, which is a neat little feature of it. All right, so we're going to await client.connect, and let's await, let's constant result is equal to client.database. Let's put it in MERN /collectiono. Let's name the collection people. Let's call them users, whatever. Users, and let's insert one. We will insert an object, and it will be it'll just have a name. Let's put Bimmy in there. All right, and what we're going to do is we are going to res.json. Should we manually? Yeah, let's manually say the status. So, because the status wouldn't be a 200, which is the default status. It'd be a 201 for an insertion of something, creation of a new document. So, and let's JSON over result. Let's start manually creating our own objects. Let's say the status will be 201 just for thoroughness, and we will say result. That's fine. If something goes wrong, I'm gonna console.error our error object, and I'm going to I'll respond with it. I mean, anytime a request is made to the server, there should be a response, even if it's an unfortunate one. So let's res.status. I'm just going to throw over a 400, and let's .json again, the status of 400, and I'm going to I'll just put error in there. Let's call it error, I guess. All right, and in the finally, we will client.close to close our connection. Now, there's a good chance in a real application you want to create your client and connect at the top of your server and then never close your connection. I'm going to do it like this just so that if I close my server, it doesn't leave an open connection, because my server is going to be opening and closing all the time, right? As I type and I have it running through NodeMon. And I don't want to have a whole bunch of lingering connections, because I might, well, very quickly will hit the cap, and then I have to manually go and close them on Mongo's page, and that's a pain. All right, let's go to the API/add person. API/add person. And we got back a 201 with no result. Uh-oh. Did I not await something? Was result not an object? Result is an object. I did not await. All right. Let's log in with my old Hotmail account and my likely long password. That's not that long, actually. Let's go and find it. Now, I didn't await the promise. Remind me later. Always delay these things. All right. Dark mode. Ooh, I'm going to look into that later. Exciting. I can't see everything on my screen. Hold on. There we go. Database. Whenever that loads up, go to Browse Collections. We should now have a MERN. Oh, we're on the wrong one, aren't we? We're on Bot Boys. Go over to Project 0. Aptly named. Database. Browse Collections, and we don't have it. You know what? Right. I should have just looked at my log here. Because I did not await this, we sent our response before this promise resolved, and the finally triggered, which closed the connection. So before we were able to do our insertion, we closed the connection, which is probably what this big error here says. Attempted to check out a connection from a closed connection pool. Yeah. Excuse me. So let's make sure we await this promise so that, we don't continue in our executions until this promise has been resolved or rejected. Hopefully it's not rejected. Let's go back to adding this person, and there we go. Acknowledged, inserted ID. So now we have an inserted ID of this person. Very nice. And if I go on Mongo and let's just do a little refresh here. And now I go over to the MERN stack, we see that I have users and one very simple user object with the inserted ID. Cool. So we can make things, we can make people. We haven't switched over to a post yet. I guess we should do that. Let's turn this into a post. So instead of add a person on a get, which isn't very helpful because realistically, you're going to have a get endpoint to create something and it's always going to create the same thing. Not useful. Let's make this a post, and let's extract a name from our request. So let's say constant name equals rec.body. All right. You should always do validation that you're capable of doing before you connect with the server. That way, your response happens as soon as it can. Right? No need to even connect with Mongo if, for example, there's no name provided. So let's just do a quick if there's no name, let's make a return, which will end this function. The finally won't trigger because we won't have hit the try. Let's response.status. Let's throw them a 400, and we'll JSON over an object with, again, status of 400, and we'll say message body must booty. Body must include a key of name. All right, hopefully they don't try to name the person the number 0 or something, otherwise our falsy will trigger, but I imagine it's a string. In fact, I guess, if not name or type of name does not equal string, right? If we want to be a little bit more rigid about it, like, hey, this also has to be a string. Don't let them throw an object or an array in there. All right, so this is our post. Let's create a post. I'm going to use Insomnia. You could use Postman as well. You can't do posts through the browser. So, yeah. All right, let's create a new organization. Oh boy, I haven't done this in a while. I'm going to pause this. Can I just do this here? Okay, HTTP request right here. Okay. Since I last opened this, it kind of updated, and it looks a little different, but the plus button's right there. Very nice. Let's grab this, and we're in Bouncing Insomnia. Another version. My goodness. No, not now. So let's rename this to create a user, and let's establish it as a post. Same URL, snowman with add a person. Now, we're going to want to, does it have headers for us? User agent. This is going to need a new one, isn't it? Content dash type with a Y is going to be application slash JSON. All right. Maybe I could have gotten away without doing that, but let's put in our body. You know, actually, let's put in our body empty, no body. Doesn't like that? Should be okay with no body. I send that. Perfect. Body must include a key of name, and let's put in a name here. Let's throw in Jimmy. That should not be a syntax error at that point. What's it saying? Error line 1, not undefined. I think it's just having a. Should be fine, unless it's automatically an object now. At least in the past, you had to put your curlies around that. I'm going to try that in a second. Before I do, I'm going to fix this up to actually make use of our name. So I'm just going to get rid of the bimmy here. So this is an object with a key of the string name, whose value is what the variable name contains, right? And this is essentially the same as writing, name, or to be really thorough about what it is, it's name. Yeah, so just going to shorthand this like this. Okay, let's try this again. I'm expecting this to error. Yeah, so that's not a good JSON object. I'm guessing the way I had it was right. It's just being a little bit silly with the syntax. Let's try this again. Oh, okay, no, it doesn't. It doesn't like this form for. Oh, right. I have to have double quotes around my position 3. Around all of your keys in a JSON object, it needs to be double quoted. All right. And very good. So 201, we inserted Jimmy. Refresh. And there are 2 brothers. All right, cool. I guess we can do a find one. Yeah, sure. Let's do a find one. Well, just to finish this. So let's do 2 gets, I guess. App.get /API/ we'll call it people. Yeah, sure. We'll do a singular async function rec res. All right. So if we're going to get all people, we don't need anything from the from here, right? Obviously, as a get, it's not going to have anything in the body. So we're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff. Constant client is equal to new Mongo client. Let's put in the Mongo URI here, and let's begin our trying. Client.connect. Better await that. The whole point of it being a try. Let's catch an error. It's going to be a lot of the same syntax here. I'm just going to go over here and copy this because it's the exact same. There we go. Catch error, throw back the error, client close. Cool. So what are we going to do here? We're going to go and in Mongo get all the people. So constant people is equal to, we'll await this time, client.database, I think we called it MERN. In fact, you should probably name these as variables instead of having to write this all the time. So up here, constant database is equal to MERN, constant people collection, just so that we can use variables instead. What was the name of it here? Users. Oh, I guess I should call it user collection. These probably all be users. Anyhow, whatever. I'm not going to make that change now. We're too far into this. User collection equals users. All right, so just fixing up this here instead of using MERN here. Let's use our variable and let's use our user collection. All right, I'm trying to grab this line here, and over here, our result, let's say people, is going to be equal to database of database collection of our user collection. And instead of insertOne, we're going to dot find. We're going to pass find nothing, so it finds everything. And then we're going to dot to array it so that we have an iterated list. And now in our response, because unfortunately we're not responding yet, let's res.json. We don't have to manually declare the status over there because it will be 200 by default. And let's just throw over people, that's fine. We're waiting. Okay, so if I hit API/people, this is a get, slash people, we should see an array of the people. Perfect. So status of 200 has a key of people. It's an array of the people we have. Let's add one more endpoint. Let me just save this so it formats nicely. Ooh, I actually don't prefer that, but all right. Let's create one more endpoint. App.get. We're going to say /API/person. I mean, you might not want to do singular plural. I prefer it, but whatever. Let's use a param here, colon name. In fact, I'll use a different name than name, just so that you see, so it doesn't look like completely mirrored, because name is literally the key in the database, right? Async request response. All right. So person name is going to now be buried in request.params, right? So like, for example, if I log request.params, this will be an object with keys of anything in the URL that has the double colon here. I can never remember if it's a colon or a semicolon. The double dots. All right. So this should have a key of .person name, right? But just to show you, I'll do both. I'll console log both of these. I am just gonna, for now, res send over. Hi. I'm gonna get rid of this in a second. I just want to hit this and make sure that we're getting the person name from the URL. So over here, instead of people, it's gonna be person and slash, Dr. Evil. All right, and we get back hi. Of course, we did that for the console log. We see that what is rec.params? It is an object. It has a key of person name, right? Where does this variable person name key come from? That's whatever is here, right? The value of it is what was in the URL when this request was made to the server. So what is rec.params.person name? It is the string Dr. Evil. In fact, this is always going to be a string, even if we had a number in here. There's a number. This is a string. Notice it's not yellow like this one, right? The type of this is, in fact, type of a string, because it's a URL. So if you wanted to get a number out of it, you better apply the number built-in class constructor. All right, so instead of doing like this, I'm going to destructure from the array, from the object rather. So person name is equal to rec.params. Params. All right, so now we have a variable called person name. We are going to connect to Mongo and try to find that person name. So let's grab this. In fact, I'm just going to grab the whole thing because, again, there's going to be some mirroring here. So we establish our client. We will connect. We will await. We will find. Instead of finding, we're going to find one. All right, we're going to try to find one unique person. We're going to imagine every person here has a unique name. Not accurate, but if you made users, chances are each user would have an email address. You should probably lowercase all those email addresses, and then you could use emails as your identifier to find accounts, which makes sense because people don't log in by telling you what their ID number is, right? Unless you're running a company and you have employee ID numbers or something. But yeah, usually it's email addresses. So not find, we're going to find one, which is just like the array find method. It will find the first instance even if there's multiple cases. Let's find if it matches a name with person name. So remember, person name is my variable that was created coming from my URL param here, right? The double colon. Why am I looking for a key of name? Because my users have keys of names, right? And this is why I didn't name this name. I mean, I will change it to that, but to show you that that's how this is working. So let's name this person just so the variable makes sense with its plurality. And let's throw this in here. I guess what's worth doing, because we're going to notice that this isn't going to find anything, right? For Dr. Evil anyways. Like when I throw this with number, sure, we get person as null. Find one throws back null if it doesn't successfully find something, right? So often you will respond in a variable way, right? I'll be like, person, and if I have person, I'll throw back this response, right? But if I don't have it, I'll throw back to 404, right? Let's add the status here, 404. Thought better be on the other side of the parentheses there. And, message, no person found under the name of, I better use interpolation now. Do person name. All right, so now when I throw this, it's going to tell me no person is found under the name of 8765. But if I looked for our good friend Bimmy, we do find Bimmy. We're given his ID. Very nice. So at this point, I'm actually just going to change this over to name, which is probably what it should be. So we'll extract the variable of name, and now we can actually just get rid of this because now it's the key of name whose value is the variable name. And just for lack of error, switch that over to name. All right, so now we have our person finder. We can add people, we can find people. There's Bimmy, here's Jimmy, / Jimmy, and if we look for Timmy, we fail to find. Cool. All right, so that's it for connecting your server with Mongo. We're going to be working on React next, so I'll end this recording.